Meeting scheduled to start. Okay, so can I call the meeting? Start with the pledge allegiance to the flag of the States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. Let's get started with the work. I have a motion to add to the agenda. Oh, I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Can I make a motion to amend? So I have,
right.
at the last meeting, I talked about a draft letter for us to send up to legislators to advocate for some bills. I have that for us to look at, so I'd like to add that to the unfinished business.
Okay, so
So item number 1 under unfinished business, just an advocacy letter.
okay,
And then I also recommend moving the FBLA chapter to the second item under presentations. Just move it up one.
I second.
Thank you.
Right, all in favor? All right. Okay, we talked about that, and I totally still like
No, that's
right
okay.
past you, sorry.
It went fine.
Good job getting that. All right, and a motion to approve the consent agenda.
And move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Right, on to the next. All right. That's all that. All right, now our special presentations tonight. We have a student representative.
Yep, I just made it. So I'll do it really quick.
You did it like,
Great.
sure, it was great.
Okay, a couple things from Elise. Friday is our winter sports assembly. So if you guys want to come for that, we would love to have you guys. Got some fun activities planned for that. We just started the new quarter last week, so that's exciting. The new quarter's kicking off, so everybody's got new classes. Speed bumps and stop signs have recently been added into the parking lot, so that's awesome. FBLA also just had regionals right here at the middle school, so we have all the stuff going on there. That was a lot of fun. A lot of people from the community were there as judges. It's pretty awesome. The last basketball home game is on Friday with Pleasant Hill, so we do recommend you guys come out. We're trying to pack the gym. It's Pleasant Hill, it's our rival. We gotta win this time. You can't be caught losing to Pleasant Hill twice. So I went to the OSA luncheon for girls and women's sports celebration, so that was a lot of fun. I got to go up to that and present an award to an Olympian, so that was really cool. And that's all we got for the student representative course. That's what's going on, guys.
What time's the assembly?
The assembly will be at 10 to 10:30.
Perfect. Thanks. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Malachi.
Yes.
All right. Next up, since we've moved you, FBLA.
So Malachi was very modest. The high school went home with 70 medals, so the top of all 12 schools.
Wow.
So they rocked it. I just we're gonna introduce the group that's doing their, this is the group that actually does the annual chapter events. It's a competitive event at FBLA, so you're getting to see one of the events. And they'll introduce that, but I do want to give a big thank you to the school board and the staff, and even some of our students came and helped put on regionals. That was fantastic, and it was so fun to see the entire community come out, and so I hope you all had a good time as well, but we really appreciate all the help that we got. That was awesome, and the kids did excellent. So I'm going to introduce, we have Chloe Miller, one of our presidents, and Aubrey Moran, one of our presidents, and Sophia Niblet, our vice president, and they're going to present their competitive event annual chapter.
So this is Creswell Middle School FBLA's annual chapter activities for the 2024-25 school year by Creswell Middle School FBLA. The whole chapter has contributed to this.
Wanted it.
for the Leaders of America. So FBLA is the largest business, career, and technical organization in the world. It provides life skills, leadership skills, and it has lots of competitive event opportunities. And with our chapters at FBLA, we started in 2022, and we have 26 members this year, and all of them qualified for the state competition. Last year, we had 27 members, and they all qualified for the nationals.
Our co-presidents are Chloe Coletti, Chloe Miller, Aubrey Moran. Our vice president is Sophia Niblet. Our secretary is Avery Heron. We have two treasurers, Oliver Coletti and Blair Pelham, and our advisor is Miss Anderson.
So at FBLA, we have lots of social opportunities and guest speakers. This year, we got to go to Portland to attend Sports Business Day at the Moda Center. We learned all about like the Blazers marketing campaign. We had a guest speaker there that told us all about their marketing. And then afterward, we got to go to a Trailblazers game, which was really fun. We got to see them play and learn about business. We've had lots of guest speakers from the Bean Hopper and Creswell and Nothing But Cake from Eugene. They came in and we got to do some fundraisers and they spoke about business and we got butt cakes. We had a member appreciation events at the beginning of the year, and we've done lots of other fun fundraisers and activities, community service. And this week, the 10th to the 14th is FBLA week. We dress up in business and we go to different places. We went to the city council meeting and then yesterday was our Dress for Success Spirit Day. So we also have a student store that is the business student store. We sell items out of the student store to help track their costs and service projects. So we sold snacks at the regional competition, concessions at school dances, and then we sold flowers for money for the Alzheimer's service project.
One of the service projects that we did was Alzheimer's service project. We walked in Alton Baker Park in Eugene. We joined the walk to help support Alzheimer's. We raised $1,075 and were awarded the Top School University Team Award. And there was a President's Day tonight that we got an award.
Yeah, so we are for the middle school, we're the national winner for the most raised by a middle school for the walk to United. Outstanding.
So this year, from October 9th to 31st, we had Walktober, as we call it. And every Wednesday, we would encourage students to walk to school, and there was a booth outside. And if they walked or rode their bikes to school, they would be entered into a drawing and to promote walking and riding bikes. And the winner was awarded a new JBL Bluetooth. Lots of people participated and it promoted walking and riding. It was a partnership with Safe Routes to Schools. We also have a ground gift store, and the FBLA members helped set it up this year. And if students behave well in class, they would receive ground gifts, which could be spent on items in the store. And the store provides gifts for kids to purchase for their family and friends.
A fundraiser that we did for Alzheimer's Association was last week from February 3rd through the 7th. We held our third annual Bangor fundraiser. Students put dimes into their own homeroom containers, which were positive points, and other coins and dollar bills in different homerooms, which are negative points. The proceedings went to Alzheimer's Association and the Creswell Middle School FBLA chapter. The winning homeroom could either choose to eat pie with the principal or pie the principal, and those who eat pie with the principal.
I know, you're all very sad. And we have a total, it didn't get in the presentation because we turned in the last minute. So they raised $938.96, which our total, which is how we won the national award, is $2,133. That's the announcement.
So this year, we are planning our literary service project on March 5th, and the whole chapter is going to come over to Creswell, and we're going to reach the kindergartners for Read Across America Day. These are pictures from last year, but we're planning this year's, and this year's theme is reading as dynamite, like dinosaurs. So we're going to bring some dinosaur costumes and read with dinosaur themed picture books to the kindergartners. And we are also planning on having another food drive, and so students will be encouraged to bring canned food items. Homeroom with most canned food with the tries and all money, you can go to the Creswell Food Pantry.
This year, Creswell Middle School is planning on doing an egg hunt again. We will help the principal by filling Easter eggs for our annual school-wide egg hunt. FBLA members will come before school and fill over 1,000 eggs of candy. The egg hunt will be held on April 18th.
So we have lots of different like activities we can do, and one of them is the stock market game. It's an online game. You can be on a team or alone, and you invest in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. It uses real data from the real stock market. You have $10,000 to invest. You have to invest it all over a certain time, and by the end, whoever has like the most money and the best luck investing will win. And we have competed in the fall, and we have teams planning on competing in the spring challenge. We are competing in spring. And we participated in EveryFi, and so EveryFi is a course that teaches students about the economy. So the course prepares students for their life after education in school. And so by taking this course, the students typically would be eligible to apply for the scholarship. And in order to apply for the scholarship, you have to write an essay about how EveryFi has helped you and what you're planning on doing with the things that you learned from EveryFi in the future. And Aubrey Moran last year on $2,000 scholarship. And people are working on writing the essay this year, and we're kind of working on the scholarship results.
So as we said before, this week is Creswell Middle School FBLA Week. Before FBLA Week, we turned in a video contest. We turned in a poster contest, and we did an advisor thank you. We participated in the Goose Chase game. And so this week, during FBLA Week, on Monday, we got a proclamation from the city council. Yesterday was our game night where we played Kahoo over Zoom. And they awarded lots of fun prizes. Sadly, none of our teams got the prize. We were close. Tonight, we could watch the President's Forum, where we found out that we had gotten first at Nationals for Alzheimer's. And then on Friday, we can watch From Home the fundraising camp.
So the Lead Explore Award is an online award on FBLA Connects, and it's where members are introduced to the foundations of FBLA. It's a really long course. You take the module online and you learn the lessons, and you write for those submissions and essays and stuff. And it's about like making the most of FBLA, introduces you to leadership in FBLA. So far, our award winners are Chloe Miller and Sophia Niblett, and we currently have more members working on it all this time. And we also do the Lead Aspire Award. We record our courses that dive into specialized content areas, and the lead courses we continue to be added throughout the year. And so you're going to learn about Future Smart's financial literacy, which is in partnership with EveryFi. You can also learn about time management. Our award winners are Aubrey Moran, Sophia Niblett, Chloe Miller, Ava Foote, Taylor Groves, Richard Tom, Megan Netherhurst, Madison Filling, and
the Leadership Trifecta Award was another award. We came up with it for a chapter ourselves to encourage students to participate in the other awards. The award winners are Chloe Miller, and others are working on it. We have to finish the other courses.
So this year, on January 31st, we had our regional competition at Creswell Middle School. All our members came to help to set up, sold concessions up at the store, and helped clean up afterward. 26 students from Creswell Middle School competed, and all of them successfully placed in the top 10 and qualified for state. So,
And then these are our regionals results.
I probably won't bring them off, so I'll take too long, but Thank you to all of the Creswell School Board members, Creswell School District staff, and community members who helped with the Future Business Leaders in the regionals competition. You couldn't have helped regionals here. Thank you for supporting our chapter.
We have a very busy chapter, Mrs. Anderson.
They're very dedicated, hard workers.
That is fantastic.
We appreciate you giving us all the information tonight. It's nice to see it all. Big job. Congratulations on all the hard work.
Before we move on to our next item, if you do not wish to stay for the entire board meeting, we are paying members do not have to stay. Scoot out your parents. I can see Ashley on. Come on. No, it's okay. No, feel free because it's a long meeting tonight. So if you want to take your kids along, feel free to do that.
Okay, guys.
Thank you for coming. Good luck at state. Yes, good luck. Good job, Chloe.
Next on the agenda would be our proposed science curriculum adoption presentation.
Hey, while we're setting this up, I was like, literally having like a mom moment back there. So look back here, you're little.
Yeah.
So cute, their clothes.
Taught middle school for 20 years. I don't know if I've ever had new students like that.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Yeah. It's not nearly as successful.
That should be done.
Is this work? Yeah. Hello. We're finally here. It's been a long road. Before we get started, I want to introduce Dustin Dawson. He's from the ESD. He's been a huge partner in this process. And then our fifth grade teacher, Ella Simbach, is joining us to give some teacher voice in our presentation. So we had many people a part of this process. Essentially, at one point in time, every teacher in our school was around the table talking about this because as we dug in, we realized we needed a lot of voices. So we had supported the Road, our district office, the Creswell leadership team, Dustin Dawson, of course, and like I said, everybody was all hands on deck because we have a lot to dig into. So just like our other adoptions, we have sort of a process that we go through to make sure that we are getting all the information we need to make this really important decision. So it started back in the fall of 2023, which seems like forever ago. But in that same year, the standards have been adopted, the new updated standards have been adopted at the state level. And new curriculum was out for us to review for this science adoption. So we began collecting input from our teachers. And the biggest thing that our teachers were asking about is curriculum that had as low prep as possible and it would fit our schedule. And so I realized that we really needed to dig a little deeper into best practices in science instruction, that there's more to it than prep and time. Although there's a very important pieces, we then partnered with Dustin, who came and provided a lot of professional development to our teachers. He updated them on the new best practices in science instruction, gave us lots of opportunities to do hands-on science that our kids are doing, and we had a lot of fun. Really fun. From there, we were reviewing our vision for what we're hoping to be able to provide our students and data. And through that, data dive, we decided, we really can't keep doing more of the same because it's not giving us the results we want. And so we began to examine the curriculum options and narrowed down our choices. We, in the spring of 2024, did a pilot of a program called TWIG. And it was out of all the choices, the only curriculum that felt like we could adapt to fit our needs at the time. And then we kind of got near the end of the year and we didn't feel like we were in a place that we could make a solid decision. It's a big investment. Science curriculum is very expensive and we didn't want to make an easy choice. And we also had some pretty spirited conversations because people had some big feelings about our science curriculum. So we wanted to just sit on it a year and dig a little deeper. And so one of part of the spirited conversation was really around some of the barriers that we had. We realized we needed to kind of bring those forward. And so I'm going to have Ella talk a little bit about some of the realities in elementary science.
Yes, absolutely. So as Amy said, I think our teacher's largest concern, including me, was some of the realities. Right now, we have about 25 minutes a day to cover science, which just isn't quite enough to dive into a lesson and actually have a prep before that, which you likely will not have a prep before that to get all your materials ready. And then by the time you've given those instructions for science, you tend to be at 5 minutes to go, because that took you about 20 minutes. So that, along with the reading and the prep of just the actual information that needs to be presented, just felt like we needed something that was easily breakable, that we could find a good spot to stop really easily. We could start to get into it and then continue the conversation the next day. Some of those other curriculums we explored did not feel like it was easy to find that stopping point. Open SciEd has been very easy for me to find stopping points and then come back, and my students are still really, really engaged in that lesson that we were in, since it starts with a phenomenon every time.
Yeah, and then, I think in general, elementary teachers were really good experts in the area of reading and math and writing, of course, but, we're not necessarily science experts or social studies and health. We teach those content areas, but really reading and math is our primary focus, and we integrate all of those into our core content areas. But for teachers, it's a little intimidating at times to teach those content areas because we're not necessarily scientists or, experts in the field. So moving into year 2, which is this year, our teachers were much more open to looking at other options. Dustin had brought to us in the spring that Open SciEd was going to be releasing their elementary program, and that we could perhaps move forward with looking at that as well. So this year when we came back, we decided that we wanted all of our teachers to teach from either TWIG or Open SciEd, and a lot of them ended up teaching from both because everybody was really invested in finding the right tool for us. We processed the pros and cons with both of those because there's really no perfect curriculum. Day is very tight and we have a bajillion standards to teach and only so much time in our day. So we really had to look at a few different pieces that we wouldn't have thought at the beginning. So like Alex said, what kind of curriculums are really realistic for us to be able to implement. And then as we were processing that, the barriers became a little bit more clearer to us, and we were able to process how we would be able to adapt those. Our school leadership team got involved at that point to help make decisions on where we were going to go, and we collectively decided that we wanted to move forward with Open SciEd because we felt like it would best meet our needs. And then of course we circled back to our community and we had an opportunity to look at it as well, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. So a lot of our work was with Dustin, and it was around those best practices in science. So I'm going to have him talk a little bit about what those best practices are.
First off, I want to say thank you, because for those of you who don't know, Lane ESD is funded by you. All the districts in Lane County decide whether or not they're going to put money into the Lane ESD program and use that. And so Half of my money comes from half of my salary comes from that investment of all the districts around. And so I appreciate that, and that's what allows me to come in and support all these teachers here. I do get to work with all the districts, and I've had an opportunity to do that a lot over the last couple of years, and we'll say Creswell's pretty cool. They're spirited, but they are like passionate about educating their students. They are just really, really into it. And so we had a lot of great conversations about it. And with that, Amy mentioned the standards shifting. Now, that happened about 10 years ago, but nobody was ready 10 years ago. There wasn't any curriculum or anything that was available that was really in tune with the new standards. That has now shifted. It's gotten a lot better. People have really made a lot of moves. But when I was in school, science looked a lot different than the way the standards are asking us to teach it. We now have these in our pockets. And so if you want to know what the atomic weight or mass of hydrogen is, you can look it up. And so memorization is kind of not as important anymore. What we want our students to be doing is figuring out things in their world, because that's what we need our scientists to do in the future. And so the shift is, instead of learning about plate tectonics or weather or something like that, it's trying to figure out why things are happening the way they are, and going through that process of struggle to try to understand what's really going on. Also, it turns out the science says, like, if you actually struggle in the process of learning, you're more likely to remember it and be able to use it later in life. And so all that stuff comes together with the new standards. So, way too much text here. The key part is that the standards ask that we have phenomena-driven instruction. So we're looking at one particular thing. So one of the example that little thing that we did with the elementary team was look at balancing objects. So why do some things balance and some things don't? And what are all the factors that go into that? And how can you make something interesting that can still balance and maybe not look like it should balance, but it does like it. So something that sparks the curiosity of the students, and then you use that as an anchor point for the entire unit. And so you're talking about balance the whole time, even though you're really talking about forces and all kinds of other things, you're always having the storyline that comes back to that balance focal point. So the students have somewhere to hang their knowledge. And then get a new piece of information, they can say, oh, right, that pertains back to our main thing. Students are at the center. So again, when I was in middle school, high school, college, it was like the professor was up at the front and they were filling my brain with all kinds of stuff, which most of it just leaked out one or the other ear. Now the students are at the center, and they ask that the students actually are doing the talking and the figuring out and the meaning making and sense making as they go through it. And then this understanding that it's okay for learning to develop over time. This is what science does all scientists have to develop their learning over time. They come in with a certain set, but then when they do a study, they have to figure something new out. Oh, now we know this. Now we can try to figure out this. And so that learning should develop over time. And then making students think invisible is a big one. So we should have some sort of presentation. But you've got 30 minutes a day to talk about science. So how are we going to do all of that in just 30 minutes? And I love this thing. Everyone's born a scientist. When we all use science in our everyday world. And so it's kind of showing students that that's true, how we make decisions about things as we go through the world. And then there's all these overlaps too between the different subject areas. And so in science, there's a lot of reading, there's a lot of writing, there's a lot of speaking that happens. And you can teach ELA through science. And I mean, I'm definitely biased. I love science, but I think most elementary students in particular are excited about science concepts, and that would make them more likely to want to read the text, and then more likely to want to write about the text, speak about the text. So using science as an anchor to then drive further ELA and math is kind of the goal.
And with our reading adoption, if you remember, we have approximately 3 units in all grades that do touch on science topics. So Ellen can speak a little bit about how that overlap is really supported.
Yeah, even I think more than that, it's actually not listed on this chart, but the discourse that my students have had in science and actually having real scientific debate, which has been incredible to view with 5th graders, has come into our ELA so frequently now, and actually pointing out like, oh, that's like what we did, making an inference, like a hypothesis, like we did in science, like we're doing the same thing in reading before we actually read the story, and I'm like, yes. And then arguing both of our sides respectfully and being able to do that kind of as a scientific community, and then taking that into ELA and math has been really, really successful for my class. So I feel like they've been so bought in and engaged to this science. Every time I have to kind of pause at that like 30-minute spot, and then we come back to it the next day, I feel a little apprehensive of like, oh, are they going to remember? Oh, they remember. They remember, and they were like, I've had something to say for the past 2 days about this, and I'm gonna tell you, I think that the pumpkin should be weighed by its volume. Or, so then we've kind of had talks about pros and cons of things. And I think part of our science has actually started to make my class more of a community that can debate and that can find more commonalities and agree to disagree sometimes. So even beyond this, I think that this has helped us like socially and emotionally too.
Really glad you brought that up. That's something we're talking about more and more. That discourse piece really is, it's how we all get along in this society, right? Like, can you talk with other people about it? I mean,
Sure.
I just can't remember. So, right, this one of the things that's interesting about Open SciEd, this is a grant funded organization that decided to put out curriculum because, to be honest with you, the publishers that are out right now, they don't want to spend the money to redo their entire volume of work. It's a lot. It's a big investment. And they were they're making a lot of strides in the last 10 years, but very few of them have actually made a complete shift to the way the standards are asking you to do. So this organization, this group, which started off as a bunch of university science educating professors, were like, let's just do it. Let's just make it happen ourselves. So they started with the middle school curriculum about 8 years ago. They made the first version. And then about 4 years ago, they decided we need to do version 2. We need to update it. They did the middle school one again. It's really good, got great reviews. And then they did the high school because they're like, there's nothing in high school. It's all textbooks in high school, except for Oregon, because we have patterns, and that's what is adopted in high school. That's also really good stuff. And then they're like, but now we need to support what's coming into middle school. Let's write the elementary curriculum as well. The bonus is that it's open source, so there are no copyrights. You can take all the materials off the web and use it at any point for free, no cost. So of course, there's always costs. There's materials, and there's, if you actually want prints, then you're gonna have to buy copies of the print materials. But the vast majority of the cost to develop the materials is gone. It's not there. It's all grant funded, thanks to Hewlett Packard and all those folks that are part of the funding organizations that make that happen. And so I've been teaching science for 20 years and really love the new standards and really invested in them. And what I've seen at the elementary level is amazing. It's really, really, really good. And so I'm excited. It was not part of the ODE approved list because they are just building it right now. They're halfway through at this point. But what they've absolutely amazing. They will be done by the end of next year. And so we were already talking, there'll be a rollout process because it's a big investment or a big shift in teaching. So we'll kind of slowly move that out by the time they're ready for the fourth year of the fourth year.
Yeah, and there's a lot of districts locally who are also going to be going around in Open SciEd, so it's proven to be pretty popular amongst our neighboring friends because they're seeing also the benefits, and it's an easier tool for our teachers to be able to implement rather than spending $100,000 on tools that will sit on a shelf. So that would likely happen. So, and
they were very, very thoughtful about making sure that it was something that they could be busted apart into little pieces, because every school district has a different amount of time in elementary. It's not like there's a 45-minute to an hour chunk of time. Some have that and some have 20 minutes. And so it is all over the place. They made sure it was very adaptable.
Very accessible for teachers, and even the lesson planning and prep is very, very accessible. I've prepped a lesson in even just about 5-10 minutes. Because the teacher guide that you pointed me to, I'm so glad, thank you, and that's helped a lot. I was like, oh wow, there's all the answers, that's the steps of what I need to do in an order with all the links, so.
Now, you're actually a little exceptional, I think, for most people, the first time through, it's gonna take a little longer than that, but yeah, and that's maybe the other thing too, is that I come with a package too. I'm fully invested in OpenScience. I think it's an amazing middle school and high school curriculum. And it will really lead, especially when we get the high school stuff.
Yeah, so as Dustin said, there's a rollout, they have 2 units now. And then this summer they'll be putting their 3rd, and then next winter we'll have the 4th unit. And so realistically for our teachers, that works well because we're gonna go slow to go fast to make sure we really develop well thought out lessons that are actually going to be used, rather than trying to do it all at once. So it'll be a nice way for us to slowly start getting a better science program in our school. So Dustin spoke a little bit about their development process, but there's a few things that I wanted to specifically point out. So this is sort of on the left-hand side, their flow of how they develop their units. When they get to that developing the anchor phenomenon, they actually did do interest surveys with students to find out what are things that they're interested in, what do they find engaging and relevant. So the topics are things that our current kids want to learn and know about. And I think Ellen can attest to that in the classroom that the kids are really into the topics. And then as they go through all of their testing and they're ready for that external review, they have received very high marks. So I feel confident in these professionals and these experts out in the field who are reading it and saying that it is the real deal.
In fact, when they submit it for review before they publish it, before they release it, and they will not release unless it has been only gotten highest marks. Otherwise, they go back and they go back and they rewrite it.
Yeah. So Ed Reports gave OpenSci Middle School, which we assume it'll be the same for elementary school, green ratings on all 3 of their benchmarks. And those are the highest ratings that they give out. And then the science peer review gave OpenSci quality, which is their highest ranking. And they give it to all of OpenSci, not just pieces. Sometimes when you look at the curriculums, the state reviews, there'll be certain areas that meet and certain areas that don't meet. But for OpenSci, these 2 organizations have given it the green light. In fact, 93% of instructional materials submitted for the science peer review do not achieve that high quality ranking, and OpenSci got it on all of them. So we feel really good about what they're putting out for us to use. We're gonna give you a little bit more to look at. Do you want to pass this out? And Ella can speak a little bit about this, or if she has anything else to add, but this is a document that talks a little bit about the difference between traditional curriculums versus OpenScience approach. Kind of touched on a few of these throughout the presentation, but and again, it talks about middle school, but this is essentially everything, not just their middle school curriculum. I wish they didn't put middle school on it, but
It's because that's what was released first, and so, but yes, it does pertain to all levels.
yeah. And so as we, as a staff, continue to have more and more discussion around science and had participated in a handful of professional learning opportunities with Dustin, we began to see the benefits of OpenSci in terms of what it offers our students in terms of science instruction. It really did meet a lot of those requirements and those best practices.
I've noticed on here that it says teacher facilitated over teacher directed, instead of kind of what Dustin was talking about when you were in school, that they were just kind of lecturing at you. I really am, I feel like I'm more facilitating a discussion rather than like leading us through some kind of workbook. I'm really just presenting them with the scientific phenomenon, and then they're so engaged with it, they've really taken it from there. So far, I'm quite a few lessons in, but all of the lessons have actually been things that my students have had background knowledge on. Our first one was about a nurse log, And then all of a sudden they were seeing moss everywhere and bringing moss in bags for me, like, this one's still living. And we actually like dissected the moss and had to decide whether or not it was a plant. There was quite a healthy debate about if it was a plant or not. And then we kind of moved on to other things that we also have some knowledge of, but I really am just facilitating their conversation, and it's very, very collaborative. I was very lucky to be able to pilot Twig when we also had that, and Open Science. Open Science, I do feel like Twig felt more like teacher directed, where I was leading them through something. We didn't have quite as many discussions versus this, I'm more just like a scientist would, presenting a concept.
And then the next document that we passed around is the elementary scope and sequence. I don't know, Dustin, did you want to speak a little more about that?
Yeah, I guess the thing to notice with this is that there will be concepts that kind of show up in multiple grade levels in slightly different ways. And so there's always gonna be some physics, there's always gonna be some earth science, and there's always gonna be some life science in each one of them. And that's on purpose, because a kindergartner can only get so many concepts really compared to a fifth grader. And so we want, and the standards are written this way, even through middle school and high school, that knowledge builds over time and we learn some real nice basic fundamentals at kindergarten, but then those just keep building every year and keep growing on each. And all those numbers are just pertaining to the specific standards that each of them hits. And that's just to kind of prove that they do hit all the standards.
So we talked about how it is open source and free web-based. There are some options for some costs. So not all of our teachers are super comfortable with all the teachers' guides online. They do like a hard copy to be able to touch and feel and write in and put sticky notes on. So there is the option for us to buy teacher editions. They're $25 per unit, so that'd be, $100 per teacher. If every teacher wanted one, that would be a max of $2,000 to purchase the teacher's manuals. The student workbook prices are there with an approximate annual cost, but I don't think that we will be moving forward with buying student workbooks, only because our teachers will likely not use every single piece of the workbook. So we would probably print pages as needed. But
every one of those pages from the workbook is available as PDF or actually Google Doc. So they can edit it and then print out exactly what they want.
Or they could upload it into Google Classroom or other avenues versus just printing lots of paper. There would be some supply and consumable costs. So Lane ESD is working on creating some kits for schools to be able to check out. So there's some materials that would be things we couldn't necessarily buy. So for example, the balance unit that Dustin spoke about, there's some stands that you build. Our teachers don't really have time to be building stands. So there would be a kit that we could borrow and use. But then there's some of those consumables that we would be purchasing every year, like, caterpillars and food items. And so I just gave it a very rough estimate. I believe initially there would probably be $100,000 to $2,000 per grade level cost to get supplies, but some supplies would need to be repurchased yearly. If I buy a box of 10,000 ton depressors, I would imagine that would last for a few years. So the cost for those supplies would kind of vary year to year. Did you have anything else on the?
The only thing else I would say is it will probably also be a ramp up because of the slow implementation process. The first year it might be 1 unit per grade level, and that's it. So we'll only be buying materials with that 1 unit. And the second year might be two sections with it. So, yeah, and I think there's going to be so much little modifications and like, okay, what's going to really work well here and.
So we did, as I said, we sought some stakeholder input from our families and community, and these are some of the things that parents or community members had specifically reached out to me via email to share. I've had a lot of just in-person conversations with people. I think a lot of parents are excited. They want their kids to have more opportunities in science. They want them to be excited and engaged in that. A lot of our students who are struggling readers, science is an opportunity for them to shine without feeling threatened by, having to read in front of the class or any of those other practices that cause a lot of anxiety for their participation. So a lot of families are feeling pretty positive about that. Didn't receive any negative feedback from any families or any concerns. And I would say that our staff also have similar sentiments of excitement. So with your approval, these would be some of our steps for implementation. We would continue with our curriculum alignment K-5, making sure that we are hitting all those standards, that we're not all teaching the same strand of science, but that we are varying it. And we would continue to listen to the middle school and high school. When we had our ELA math adoption, that collaboration proved to be really valuable to us because hearing from what they need from us really meant a lot. Focus on building a strong foundation in sense making, provide instruction at all grade levels to all students. So when I first got here, science was really believed to be a 5th grade task because they were tested in 5th grade rather than believing that it was their, culmination of instruction from kindergarten to 5th grade. So over the last few years, we have implemented science in all of our classrooms, and we would continue with that. We would use our PLCs to review the data to create that standards-based instruction. We would continue our professional learning with Dustin, developing those units over the next few years, as soon as the spring for the next year. Yeah, just keep going. We are we're wanting to create sort of like a science closet for our staff so that we can start collecting some of those items, keeping it easy for them to be able to access those materials they need. And then annually scheduling and having time set aside to plan and prepare and have some professional learning around science. Do you guys have any questions for any of us? You guys science experts?
I love the fact that it sounds like you literally tried 2 out for a year to see light. So that seems fantastic. That's a lot of time invested in research, so thank you.
Yeah, when we went to the initial caravan, I went by myself. There was field trips, all kinds of things that kept our teachers from going, and I left feeling very defeated. And like, oh boy, this is not going to be a cut and dry, easy process like it was for reading and math. And so we just kind of went with it and really wanted to make sure we brought everyone along with us and not, here you go, you're teaching this, because that would just not feel great. So
I was really impressed with the process and the amount of empathy and listening that you showed the teachers when they were not ready, even though that was on the schedule. Let's do it last spring. That was really noticeable.
Any other questions? No. Thank you.
You did a very thorough job. Apparently we have no questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you so
trying that.
much.
Thank you for helping us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
My favorite thing for
I can tell from your shirt, very.
Yeah, I thought
appropriate
you
t-shirt.
I was like, should I wear something more? Nope.
No,
It's right out there.
perfect.
It was really fun. It's like, oh, this is a fun staff meeting, like, we should do this more often.
Good. Good. And I can't wait to approve a budget with caterpillars in it.
I know, I was thinking that. They don't go into science closet. So now we have the VHS science. Okay, we're gonna take it 2 minutes. We're gonna take 2 minutes, so let me make work get it up.
All right.
But it's always, I'm so excited about it.
Read my letter.
Oh, yes.
You need to do that. Procrastinator.
Yeah, no, I
have it in the board for anyone.
Oh, yeah, beautiful theory.
Good. Did you read through my draft letter? Because I'll need to talk with you about that.
So then we just, this form, do the part is, I'm just, hey, can you please write it?
No.
Yeah, you want to. It's so good. I'm just gonna adjust.
Oh,
yeah. It just prints it out. You know, I want to be a little smaller. That's things I can do. I just didn't find.
And when I was in college, I made the margins bigger, you know.
I don't know where I'm going.
I know we're all.
Yeah, meeting place spaces.
Yeah, I have it.
So I'm excited. I think she's talking about
Anyway.
Nice job.
I was like, wow, we got.
I'm doing okay. Yeah, it's kind of real. He's presenting in front of high schoolers.
We're just pretend, yeah.
I'm gonna try.
Look, all like early.
Well, I have had some of my. Hey, my introduction. I think I put her. Yeah. It's not that I put it in the front. I like it. The literacy program. So excited about after the support conference. That's an excellent question. I'm strong. Remember, we were out really down about it. Yeah. In fact, I think it's.
Maybe some government. Not the early learning.
Yes, yeah.
Literacy grant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have, we already have it.
Thank you guys for waiting for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
All good.
Yeah.
We did.
Always.
Okay, fancy.
Okay. Us, we born on Saturday. So I might not be in Pennsylvania until Friday morning, so I might be flying with my. We're going to get just flying on Saturday, Jersey drive, William, because they're both and transfer to Islands. We don't have anything to get.
Let's do that.
All right. Are you ready?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna take a minute to say, what an amazing lead-in. We didn't even know that Dustin was gonna be here with Amy and her amazing crew to talk about Open Science, which is a very similar curriculum to what we have adopted, which he mentioned was patterns. And so knowing that that's gonna be coming from the potentially from the ground up, is amazing. So Kelly is just here to talk about how we use the curriculum with our students and the data that we collect through the term in our 3 classes with patterns. So, okay.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about just how CHS Science has been generating and using some data from classroom assessments in particular to complement, the state testing that we get, the state testing results that we can get. And I am really excited about the possibility of Open Science. That is exactly what we're trying to do too, and that's, I added, so thinking about our pattern, Science for All is what they call it, and it is designed to be tightly aligned with the NGSS. They started with the standards, the next generation science standards that Dustin was talking about, that first came out about 10 years ago. Now, Oregon was one of the founding states. There were a dozen or so states that helped develop the NGSS that now I think almost all states have adopted, something like 35 states have adopted it as their foundational science curriculum or science standards. And we were one of the first. And so patterns that we adopted is very much like the Open Science that they were talking about, in that it's based on the idea of those same principles of phenomenon, starting with something that is happening that needs to be explained, and then using knowledge building and problem solving to try to figure out why this is happening. And so it leads to that student-centered teacher facilitated, critical thinking kind of curriculum that we at the high school are really enjoying. And again, it's trying to get them to understand, to be able to apply their knowledge to real world problems and challenges, not just, attain facts, which are easily attainable, in our world now. I've included a matrix here, which I don't think I can get to, of how they actually use the art. This is really small, and I do have links here that I can share. But the patterns aligns specifically with each of the NGSS performance expectations. So they call it 3D learning, and that's science and engineering practices, cross-cutting concepts, and the particular content information that we want students to have. So content being like how photosynthesis works, cross-cutting being things like structure and function or cause and effect. And the practices are things like understanding and using graphs or the discourse that they talked about, being able to talk about science. I know this is impossible to see, but what is on here is as a snapshot of each of our 3 sort of crosswalks or matrices where we take each unit, we for ourselves have developed the what of those standards, which of those standards is contained in each unit. And then for the biology one, I have a couple of examples of assignments also, and then the assessments that we use to assess those particular standards. The assessments are all from patterns that we use in our classroom. One of the things that I really like about these assignments and assessments is that they aren't just long multiple choice matching tests. There's very little of that sort of assessment. There are traditional quizzes and tests. They're multiple choice, constructive response, or open-ended, but occasionally some of the summative assessments, like for example, in physics, are a portfolio. In one of the units in physics, they design a shoe. They're given different examples of types of shoes for different types of purposes, and they have to like sort of take apart what does it mean to be this kind of shoe, like a dance shoe, or someone that a smoke jumper might use, like how are those different, what do they have to do? And they go into all sorts of physics around forces and buoyancy and all sorts of things to design these shoes, and they actually submit like a full portfolio of their final shoe that they designed for a particular purpose. So it's really cool because it's like, it's not just do you understand force, it's can you apply it to this real world situation. There's also lab reports are some of the summative assessments that they use in patterns. So they've got to actually do a summative investigation into a question and submit that. And we use the CER format that they're using now in the elementary or middle school, and will be using in the elementary school if they do open SciEd, because it's all the way up the claim evidence reasoning, which honestly aligns with the language arts as well. And there's also occasionally projects. So things where they're putting together, again, a larger understanding of the problem, of the phenomenon of the real world. Okay. I have these documents if anybody needs them too. They're like links. So what we do is we do take the data from these. These are just 2 samples without student names of sort of pre-post. We generally do a pre and a post test on the same sort of questions. Sometimes they're a little bit different. So we can see that growth over the course of the unit. But so I see Eric and I mostly use Google Sheets to keep track of our data on these various things. And then we can go back and say, well, this unit 1 addresses these particular standards because we have the sort of matrices that we've made ourselves to keep track of that information. And this is physics. What Mr. Doyle's given us here is proficient versus not proficient. We were remarking that as he goes through the units, it gets harder. Class, the content in physics gets harder, and that's just the progression. There is that we start with some really basic ideas and get into some really cool stuff. And then I just wanted to also just to sort of complement the classroom data that we collect is to see how I think this is kind of playing out in the state testing.
just with some previous year's data. I think that this kind of phenomenon-based, student-centered, problem-solving kind of curriculum lends itself to whatever the state test throws at us. So we don't know what facts are gonna be on the test. We don't know what experiment is gonna be, kids are gonna be asked to evaluate. We don't know what kind of data is gonna be on there. We can't know. But if we can try to prepare them with like, this is how science works, then hopefully when they see a test, they're seeing a new test item, they know how to address it, even if it's not. Because we don't know what content's on the test. I mean, we know what the standards are. We don't know which tiny little piece of information might be contained there. I know on the interim assessments, there's one about red pandas. I don't teach about red pandas specifically, but I teach about evolution, and that's what the question's about. So they know about how those big concepts work and how to look at that kind of data. So this is 22-23, where we are doing better than the state by a bit. In 2024, we saw that fall off. But I don't think that it's, I don't think we were doing anything different. I think the process is still there, and I think the process is still good. Sure. We had a lot fewer numbers and things. And we do have first semester 11th graders taking the test this year. So this is sort of preliminary information. Like a third of the class. So. Do they have any questions?
Let's see the data.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. And, you know, yeah, I think it's good. And the kids like it. The kids like it. I think for the most part they do. I think sometimes they are bothered by not getting that yes or no correct answer on everything, especially, you know, at the beginning of a unit, we just sort of jump in and it's like, okay, what do you know about this? Let's try some stuff out. And so it can be a little uncomfortable because I'm not going to necessarily give them a right or wrong answer at the beginning. We have to kind of get there and develop our understanding, make meaning, like Dustin said. And it takes time, and they sometimes are like, well, no, tell me what goes here. And so, no, we're not gonna do that right now. That's not what we're doing. We're kind of working with this because, you know, they really understand it when they have to struggle with it. If I just tell them stuff, they don't necessarily remember it or understand it. They need to work with it. That's how we learn stuff. So yeah, I think they like it. A lot of cool activities. Yeah, right. In all three of them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so in my report, the highlights of my report, obviously, not to say that the year is over, but hitting 92% on the graduation rate was that was a big deal, for me, for us. And that's the highlight so far in the last 6 months, so. And then, going to advocate for our district and what our kids need. On a tour of the Hope Factory with our legislators that came to see how CTE is going in Lane County. And this project at Hope Factory was a highlight for me. Other activities I've listed there. Of course, the projects are going well and we're on schedule with the bond projects that we have moving forward, and we're in the design phase now for the academic hall and what we can do there to make improvements in that facility. And waiting on the a draft drawing of the CTE building. And had a meeting on Tuesday morning with the engineer and designer fabricator about that. And so that should be coming here again. for us to look at. Civil engineers are coming around looking at our area back there, for plots on where this can go. And as soon as we get the draft and we'll put it in their hands, they can start, really digging into it and finding out, telling us what we need to do and give us an estimate on the work. So that's where we're at with those projects. And with safety and security, and you know, there was some information that went out on Facebook about some cars they have broken into last week at the middle school and high school. And we have a prowler around the community that is breaking into cars and a lot of other places too, in Creswell. But that kind of sparked a little more urgency for us on security around our campuses. And so we're having some assessments done of each of our schools and our entire property to see what kind of technology is out there and where we might put different types of cameras and what software we can bring into. And this is for indoors and inside and outside of our buildings, all around our lots, just to make sure that we have a plan that it doesn't have any gaps in it. So just getting the assessment for insurance, and if it turns out that we need more equipment, then we're going to invest in more equipment. Any questions on any activities or want to know anything else about anything that's happening? Okay.
It looks nicer. Yeah, from high school.
By the way,
It looked nice yesterday. It was nice. I'm like, oh, the gym looks nice.
oh, good, thank you.
I was being nice, Mike, and you gave me a look.
Well, I didn't know, I mean, well, trust me, I hear a lot about the paint. All the things that have been done, millions of dollars. We've done 1,000 projects and, you know, we haven't really heard, and then all of a sudden, we paint one wall at the high school and everything's hot. It's like, what happened?
It looks nice.
Okay, good, well, I can fix it up.
So while Candace brought up the paint, I'd like to ask a few questions. Oh, I wasn't really. Good segue. So like. Out of the football field, like the new ticket stand and the concessions building, are any of those things gonna be painted to match so that we have? Cotton, yeah, across our campus, because right now what the colors that have just been painted on the high school don't match any of it. So my question is, are we going to do something so there is continuity throughout the campus, or it's just gonna be destroyed?
This seems to be the main thing
Yeah.
that comes up when it comes about painting.
Well, it's a
And,
big change, it's totally different.
well, we're gonna get rid of the yellow, that's for sure. We're staying with the gray, that's for sure. And the dark red versus the bright red is the question that keeps coming up to me, that's all I know of it. But originally, that building was painted gray, just gray. The original color of that building was gray, the high school.
I think the gray looks nice.
The gray's nice, it's the maroon, the maroon is what gets me.
It's not maroon.
It is maroon.
No, it's not. I guarantee it is red. But,
We can agree to disagree.
well,
But
I approve the mix, so I know what it is. But there was some discussions, it wasn't really, I mean, the color was one thing, we wanted to stay with red because that's our school color. But we also wanted to have some life in our paint that was gonna last on the outside of our building. And so going with the darker shade on the red keeps it red longer over time, because then the building, the concrete behind it doesn't bleed through the paint. The lighter the paint, the more you have that. The dark color starts showing through the paint. And so that was in talking with the painters about the pros, or how can we deal with this issue that we have with the fade of the right, because some of that paint looks orange, some of it looks pink around that building, and you have some red. And that's because of the fade, how much the sun is on it. So we wanted to stay with one color that would hold up, and that's how that came about. So it's not like wanting to turn this into the Crimson Tide or anything, but it was trying to figure out, how do I stop pink and orange and red colors coming across on the different sides of the building.
So how do we tie in the rest of the buildings on our campus?
So the front part is the only one that's where the red band is. The rest of it is just all solid gray behind it. So the sidewalls and behind the building will be all gray.
So are the ticket booth, I don't even know. Is the ticket booth and the concession stand the same color? I think that's what we're at. Are they the same color? I'll go back. No. Because they're right next to each other. Not that I care. I don't have a dog in this fight right now, but I just was curious. I mean, are they different colors? I haven't been.
They probably are because the,
I feel like the booths, right? The booths
Darker.
pay for that. Their booth to get
I don't know, I
painted.
just took that.
I think they did pay for it, so maybe that's where that should go, is the restriction.
well, the darker color went on the ticket booth.
Yeah, so then it doesn't match the other, maybe that's the boosters question. I don't know, cause I think I recall when I was on boosters, we paid for that to be painted because.
Not like I'm married to the color, either one of them, red is red to me. But, you know, if folks want to deal with, in 3 years, trying to figure out how to get this building painted again, that's fine. Because that's $80,000 to paint that one building.
Yeah.
And I was looking for longevity,
Yeah.
and that's all.
I love how fresh it looks nice.
But
Well, it
we
was
can-
brown when I went to high school there, so it looks beautiful now.
I thought the gray was really nice. I didn't even notice the red, to be quite frank. I just thought the gray looked nice.
Yeah.
And well, anyway, that's why we're at where we're at, and if we wanna go to a brighter red. I've seen that in the survey of the staff over there at Creswell, at the high school. 2 comments about red, 2 out of the entire student body and staff survey, so. Hey, if it has to go red for 2 people to make everybody happy, or 3.
I think we're okay, Mike. Keep going.
Okay. We're going for longevity.
We didn't know we were gonna hit a, I was really trying to be nice. I didn't know we were gonna-
But people don't know why, or you know,
No,
what's going
no,
into the decision.
Great answer,
And
and I
the first
appreciate
thing come down to is, what color?
it.
I mean, it's like, what? I'm looking at 6 reds, which what? Shoot.
I have learned to avoid color committees in every possible way because it's a no-win situation.
I'd love to be on your next color committee.
I don't even want color. I'm trying to get out of the construction business all the time.
Comment, didn't have any.
It's about a red building.
I'll take it, I get it, I get it.
Okay, so then we're moving on to unfinished business, which we now have some.
Yeah.
We didn't, but we do.
Yeah, we have
Okay.
my letter. So I first apologize for not getting this to you sooner so that you had time to actually read it before the meeting. But what I did pass out is, a letter that I would request that if everyone feels comfortable tonight, approve it to be signed by the school board. It's a letter that's designed to go to our legislators up in Salem. It focuses on special education financing and asking them to support and vote for legislation that aligns the funding with the requirements that we have. In the letter, I detail out costs that I got from the presentation that we received from Amy and Chanel a couple months ago. They've been helping me over the month get some additional statistics, highlighting the gap that we have, which is about 517,000. That was last year's numbers. I'm using last year's numbers since this year's not done. And then I talked about the 11% cap and how that's hurting us. And then I also added in information about the high disability grant reimbursement and how that also adds to our deficit. So my initial goal was, I'm just gonna make this page short and sweet, and I had more to say than 1 page. So if the board prefers this to be 1 page, I probably can strip some of this down and make it more bullet point so that it's quicker. It will print on 1 page. I did not bother to mess with like margins and figure out the spaces.
If approved, what I would do is I would add the actual legislator's name, right at the top, you see it's legislator XXX. I'd put in their specific names, ask it to be printed on school board station or school district stationery. The board can use the school stationery, right, if it's an approved.
I would think so.
I would think so too, okay. I don't think we've ever done that before, so I just needed to make sure. Okay, thank you. So we can get it printed and then we would mail it, email it up to each of them in terms of us asking them for support for help with special education kind of thing.
Them,
The
all legislatures, legislators, or our
Ours.
5?
Yes, hours that cover our
Hours.
school district. So.
Okay.
You're welcome. Please take a
Yes.
minute if you need to finish reading through it, because I did not give you an advance time to read through it.
I move to approve this wonderful letter and to send it to however many legislators represent Creswell. I think it's 5.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Really, we really appreciate it. And it's very, and it's well written and it gives a lot of great information.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
On to new business.
Yes.
I move to adopt the CES science curriculum as presented tonight.
Second.
Racing to second.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, and this is discussion.
Are you gonna
Does
ask
anybody
me?
have anything about anyone's feelings on it?
I think it sounds like a
I
great
think it
curriculum.
sounds like,
Yeah.
I think
I think it's gonna make them think a little bit. I like
Yeah.
that.
sounds like it's gonna make. So all in favor? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, now, thank you for all your hard work.
I move to approve the CMS out-of-state travel request for FBLA and History Day lectures.
I second it. All right, any discussion on this item or are we good to go?
I just want to express my appreciation for Mrs. Anderson.
Oh my
You
goodness,
are
I was
always
thinking the
doing
same thing.
above and beyond.
Yes.
FBLA regionals, you did fantastic. Like, we saw you running around and I don't know if you slept that week.
I slept that weekend though.
Good. So thank you for that. Thank you for continuing to take our kids on exciting trips that enrich their learning.
Yes, yeah. All right, more in favor? All right, motion carried.
Good luck.
Good luck. Yeah,
Let me know if you
fun.
need a chaperone.
Okay.
Okay, am I reading this?
Yes, I think so. You need a, you did the motion before, didn't you?
Yeah, well, do I read it first?
I don't remember.
Did
you read it first?
Here, go ahead.
Okay, Mary's sister.
Okay, so Classified Employee Appreciation Week resolution. Whereas the education of youth is essential to the future of our community, state, country, and world. And whereas classified employees are the backbone of our public education system. And whereas classified employees work directly with students, educators, parents, volunteers, business partners, and community members. And whereas classified employees support the smooth operations of offices, the safety and maintenance of buildings and property, safe transportation, healthy nutrition, and direct instruction of students. And whereas our community depends upon the trusted classified employees to serve students. And whereas classified employees with their diverse talents and true dedication nurture students throughout the school years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Creswell School Board of Directors proclaim March 3rd through the 7th, 2025 to be Classified Employee Appreciation Week. And be it further resolved that the Creswell School Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of our community to join in the observance, recognizing the dedication and hard work of these individuals. Signed, Debbie Wilkerson. That was the first one.
And we had a action, I don't know if you have a motion to.
I move to adopt the resolution as stated.
Second.
All in favor? Right, motion carries.
Okay, I have another one. National School Counselors Appreciation Week resolution. Whereas school counselors are employed in public and private schools to help students reach their full potential, and whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as these traits related to career awareness and development. And whereas school counselors help parents focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children. And whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves. And whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society. And whereas comprehensive developmental school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in schools. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Creswell School Board of Directors proclaim February 3rd through 7th, 2025 to be School Counselors Appreciation Week. And be it further resolved that the Creswell School Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of our community to join in the observance, recognizing the dedication and hard work of these individuals. Signed, everyone. I move to adopt the proclamation as read.
All in favor?
Okay.
Okay. You did, and I appreciate you.
That's a lot.
I mean, whereas, whereas you read a lot.
Yeah, in fairness, I needed to do that in elementary school, finally all.
Yeah, you're gonna lovely job. All right, so another action.
So I moved to post the budget committee vacancies.
Second. All right, do you have a discussion? Yes, I do, I also do. How many do we have? Two. So it's, I know, I was like, I don't, because we were not sure when we were gonna make sure. Can you remind me of the budget committee?
Everyone?
Well,
Or
just
just
the community members. I know.
It's Chris Witham and Aaron Weatherly, and they're the two that the position is vacant.
Mhm.
Katie Perez,
Okay.
Christine Corsi, Danielle Halverson, Lon Robertson, and Sarah Klein.
Okay. All right. I couldn't remember all the people that are coming and going, so.
Yep.
So we have two vacancies. All right. Everybody find somebody. Okay. All right. All in favor? Motion carried. Okay. Next item, the information item from our superintendent.
Yeah, my superintendent goals and timeline. For my evaluation and for my timeline and evaluation as noted on my evaluation timeline for next month. The board will complete my annual evaluation. Maryland will send out evaluation forms this month to all folks that are going to providing feedback. And next month we'll need to schedule an executive session for my evaluation review. So prior to our regular meeting next month, we'll need to have an executive session
In March.
in March, yeah. Next month.
Prior to the board meeting.
Prior to the
is that what you said?
Yeah.
Well, that came fast.
Yeah.
I know, I was thinking that we just talked about it. We just did that. It's been a busy year
I'm always evaluated. Okay. Any questions or anything from me on that?
though.
Do we need to discuss the time?
So time for, yeah, Marilyn's saying yes, discuss the time now. All right.
You need to start it.
Right. So March. I don't know, March seems like it's, well, it's right around the corner, actually. Days of the week that work better for people. I'm looking at you.
I think in the past you did did you do
probably just did.
executive session right before the regular board meeting.
Oh, did we just do it the day before? No, I think
We did it like an hour.
I think we like did it an hour before, but did we move our board meeting to later?
I think we started at 6 and then started our board meeting like whenever we were done, so.
That's right, we did do it on the same day. We can do that. Tim, would you be okay to start at 6 and then move the board meeting to like, would be what we did last time? We start at 6, or did we start at 5:30?
Wait, but don't we have to write something?
I was gonna say, if you're
Yeah,
wanting
no,
a written statement to.
we
didn't do it the same day.
Yeah.
Because we didn't, because we've done really.
Oh, Marilyn knows. Yeah.
Yeah.
You had a meeting prior to the board meeting,
Yeah,
a
that's
separate
right.
executive
Okay.
session meeting, and that's where you went through the evaluation, you had your discussion,
Mhm.
and the board chair wrote up the,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's when the tables were all still in the middle.
Mhm. Yeah. So do we want to do it like the week before? Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah.
Okay, like, I think that would be best. Yes.
This is like a really long meeting.
Yeah, I know. I would prefer to
Those
not.
topics deserve attention.
Right, exactly. So does the 5th look good for people? I'm just gonna throw it out there.
It is Ash Wednesday, only if people do Ash Wednesday. I just
do
to
not,
respect
but
that.
to be respectful, yes.
The 6th, I'm gonna be flying back from Hawaii. I don't get in until midnight,
Oh, so you'll be gone.
You'll be gone.
Anyways, okay.
but I wanna be part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
How about the
X on the spot.
We could meet on Monday, the 10th.
Yeah.
Sarah recommended, that still gets you a couple.
Yeah, yeah, that's
days to
right.
review stuff.
I'm good, Monday the 10th. That works for me.
How do you feel about the 10th?
I'm fine with the 10th. What time?
What time works best for you? You would, I mean, and people that have to get here. I have a flexible schedule. I can make my schedule move.
I like the 6 o'clock start time.
Okay,
I can get
perfect.
ready for
That works for me.
8.
Can we make that a Zoom meeting and I would be in Palm Springs?
Oh my God.
I got vacation.
So rough.
I got-
Can we do an in-person meeting and then have him Zoom in? Can we do that?
Well, we have to be careful about having documents in executive session. We just can't give you anything, right? Like that's, we
Yeah.
can't email or send you anything.
That's
Yeah.
fine, yeah, I just
Okay,
like.
you just wanna be.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't care about that part, I just like to be part of it.
Yeah,
as much as I can.
Could he come in and do his evaluation with, or like fill out his evaluation form and give it to Marilyn?
I don't see.
Well, he can provide his verbal input. Yeah.
And write notes on it. Marilyn keeps all of our notes from
Yeah.
executive session.
Right.
And you just sit with Marilyn and use the notes to write it up.
Right, yeah, so he can provide us all the information to with him.
He technically
Yeah.
can't write
Take it
anything
all.
outside of.
Write anything down when we're in Palm Springs, so keep a pen.
I might want to take a pen or a pencil to Palm Springs.
Yeah.
He'll be so tired from just coming back to Hawaii.
I finally get some vacation after, what, a year and a half or something. I
Yeah.
enjoy every
We
day.
decided to do it all in one month.
Oh, yeah.
So question, Joel, if he zooms in to the meeting, is that gonna be recorded?
Oh, executive session is not.
Well, we could choose not to record it. So we can choose not to record it.
Just making sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we would want to put some safeguards into place so folks couldn't, enter the meeting either. Because anytime you have something on the internet, you have the potential for someone entering the meeting. I would obviously prefer not to have to be here to manage it, so we might, work out some logistical pieces to that. if
We can put a
possible.
lobby in, right? Just so,
Mhm.
if we have a lobby, they'll just go to the lobby and Zoom, right? Like if someone found the link or.
Yeah, I think we could work out some logistics on that. I guess I'm just thinking that I would hope that I wouldn't have to physically be here in the
Oh,
meeting to
yeah.
manage it. But I could figure out a way to logistically make sure the security's in place and we wouldn't be recording it. If, I correct me, Marilyn, if I have this wrong, but I think we might have to record the very beginning, because the meeting does start as a regular meeting, it would be a special meeting, but you still have to start as a regular meeting, which means that portion is recorded and broadcast. And then as soon as you go into executive session, the broadcasting piece goes away and it becomes. an executive session. And unless you're going into regular session at the end, it just stays in executive session. You don't have to go out as executive session. And exit the meeting at executive session. But you do have to start. Yeah, go ahead, no, I'm sorry.
It is a special board meeting, so you have to call it to order, and then, like, if it was during a regular meeting, you would say, you know, invite people to stay, that sort of thing, you
Yeah.
have to do that too, so.
To be careful though, we wouldn't even have to invite Mike via Zoom until after we go into executive session. We could just do a regular board meeting like we were still in the room and then add the Zoom so we don't unintentionally do.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
Or could he just call one of us and be on speakerphone?
yeah,
Candace, you
that's what I used to do all the time.
Yeah, the call one is probably more secure.
That's actually most secure, yeah.
Well, we can do that. We can just call in.
Just call him.
Yes.
So then the only part that would be Zoom or on, because we do have to record in Zoom every meeting, would be that very beginning, 3-4 minutes, and then stop. So I'm here for that, you know.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, all right, well, that's fun. All right, so the 10th, 6 o'clock. Here. The fact that we could get that many calendars to work, I just feel like we should, that we can.
Oh, we have one calendar to check in with.
Very,
Larry, yeah.
it's very difficult for them. All right, so we will check with Mary about that.
Maybe we can ask Marilyn to check with Mary about.
I was just gonna volunteer.
Oh, you're amazing.
I will call her.
Thank you. Next item,
So with my goals report check-in, we're at the midpoint of the school year, and it's time for my progress report on my 24-25 my school year goals. Provided you with a summary of the activities that I've completed with each of my goals. Most of these activities have also been listed on my monthly board reports to you. And those have been during since last August. Immediately when we started the new year, I was started to engage in my goals. So do you have any questions for me regarding my report, mid-year check-in report?
yeah, no questions.
Okay.
All right, clear and good, thank you, Mike. Let's have the floor. Yeah,
Graduation rate, I mentioned it on my highlights, but I just wanted to acknowledge the hard work by the CHS staff that has resulted in the graduation rates over the last 3 years. Our trend has been at the top of the state, top 30%. And it's not an up and down thing. This has been over 80% for 3 years, and this year it's at 92%. That puts us up at a really close, if not in the top 20% of the state for graduation rates. And when we look at what's up about in the top 10%, there are a couple of exceptions there, but really we're looking at school districts that have graduate classes of 3 students to 10 students. There are less than 20 students in a graduation class that are up in the higher percentages. So, you know, the team, the staff is working hard over there. Our kids are doing good. Our families are supporting them because 92% really takes everybody.
That was great news. Thank you for sending the article out when it came out. It was fantastic.
You're welcome. Any questions or comments about?
I had a lot of fun with that at the Laney SD meeting. It was really nice, but I didn't have a shirt that had buttons on it or I lost them all.
Thank you for bragging about us at Laney,
That was fun.
or at least our high school staff. They deserve it.
Okay, Hope Factory. Okay, so I have a Hope Factory tour on here, and this is really a cool deal. So Project Hope was established 2 years ago, and it's a partnership between St. Vincent's, Laney SD, Lane County School Districts, and I believe the Lane County workforce. Anyway, there's a lot of folks involved in this Project Hope. And the Project Hope is a low-cost housing construction project. And so in this, the students learn construction trades with professionals in welding, plumbing, framing, roofing, and all areas of construction. And they build these mobile homes to go out for low-cost housing. And in this low-cost housing, you can purchase it, but they also donate it to places like trailer, some trailer parks that have the trailers are falling apart, they're not occupied, you can't occupy them because they're gonna get, they're just not worthy of having a person in there. Well, those trailer parks can contact St. Vinny's. St. Vinny's goes to Project Hope, and then they go out, they place a trailer there for a family. And they'll do this if they've done 10 in one trailer park out in Springfield. And for other types of things, when somebody's displaced from a home, that home catches on fire and they're displaced on it, like the one we had on the corner here a couple of years ago. Well, now Project Hope has the ability to say, hey, we can take care of that family. And they'll put a mobile home out there. And they might subsidize it with at cost or gift it to them, depending on what the condition, what financial situation that family's in. So this thing is going on all day there. You have all these trades and you have all the students, the hands, the multiple hands that are building these are high school students that are out doing this with all these professionals. And last year was the first year we had 5 students there last year. And this year we have 5 more students. And they're putting out about 1 mobile home a week. Their goal is to put out 10 a month. So two a week or over 2 a week is what they're trying to get production there. But they give tours now. They're at a point where they can give a tour. So you can go on a Wednesday at 3 o'clock and take a tour of this facility if you want to see what's happening, what our kids are involved in. Or if you wanted to go as a board on a tour, they'll make special arrangements. We can make special arrangements through Lane ESD to have the Lane ESD director, Shireen, go over and take you on a tour while our students are working in there, when our kids are in there. So it's kind of up to what you want to do. I can make the appointment for you at 3 o'clock on a Wednesday if anyone wants to go. But if you want to go, and our students wouldn't be there on a Wednesday at 3 o'clock, you get a tour of the facility, but you'd be seeing the professionals there and not the student. But if you wanted to see our students in action, then we set it up as a group of whoever wanted to go in a time during the morning, most likely. For you to go and tour the facility.
How many students do we have there now?
5.
5, okay. And they take this morning shift, 8:30.
Yeah, and they're mostly all in the morning.
Okay.
All the work that the students are involved in from all the high schools are there in the morning. Not only do they get CTE credits there and they work towards a certificate at Lane Community College, but they also get credits in ELA or math. ELA and math while they're there, because they're there half a day, so they get curriculum while they're there. And then they get the credits out of that as well.
They also do their OSHA 10 training and they get their BLS CPR stuff as well.
Wow, did I get it? Did I say all this right?
But I have a kid who went through that program last year.
I would love to go when the kids are there.
I would too.
So
You're on vacation.
No, I've got to.
You could chop it at the bit to go.
I really want to, there's several
I
reasons.
knew Mike was gonna say yes to it, like before he had started reading, I was like.
I went back to Elkhart, Indiana, and spent a week back there. And, watch the way they build motor homes and trailer houses. And they basically put the chassis on something with wheels on it, and somebody will do something to the chassis, and then they slide it about 15-20 feet to one side, and then somebody works with the wiring. The walls and the roof are the last thing they do. And they'll get 15-16 units a day out of those things. And I'd really like to see that, what they're up to. Not, I mean, just our kids doing it too, but also just to see how they're running the thing.
So I'll have Marilyn survey you and look for a date where you guys wanna go and, a time, and I'll get a hold of Shireen and let her know. We'll probably try to come up with 2 dates so that Shireen, so she has some flexibility too, but she said she'll accommodate us.
Sweet, thank you, that's exciting, thank you very much. Great.
Yeah?
Yep.
Whatever.
Thank you, have the floor. It's just information on the special election filing,
Oh, that's Maryland.
that's Maryland.
You can file online now, and so this was information I got at the first of this week, and so it should be open now. You should be able to go online, just go to the elections website. And it's easy to follow.
This will have 3 vacancies, right?
That's for us.
Yeah, it's for
So you got 3 folks here, their term is up,
Lacey and I and
and you have to,
Tim, okay.
I want to get that information out to all you.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. All right, are you also, who's the information for state required home meeting law training?
Well, we both are, we're gonna tag team this way. So I sent out the information to you, and some of you have already been receiving the information and maybe already participated. So I know Tim has already done his with this, when they passed the law. Did you do yours this year in January, or was it before?
I attended it, February 6th.
February 6th, so yeah, since the new laws come out.
Yeah.
And Maryland's been checking into it to getting some additional information from OSBA, because the OSBA is trying to put together the course. To take it off the state's hands, so I don't know where they're at with it, but.
They delivered an hour-and-a-half course on February 6th, and I attended it.
OSBA,
OSBA.
Yes, I
okay,
can't find the recording though. I don't know.
Well, that was the other thing, they're going to they did record it. And so they're gonna let me know when it's available, and give me the link,
Gotcha.
Oh,
and then I can send it to you.
Oh,
Perfect.
And it
And
looks like they're also
OSBA
in the summer
It's
session.
they're the only organization that's been approved by the Government Ethics Commission to put this training on. And OSBA said that they geared it towards school boards. If you go, you can go to the Oregon Ethics, but it's gonna be like 3 hours, as opposed to what, hour and a half?
Hour and a half.
It's about half. So I'll let you know as soon as I know. And the other thing is that during your 4-year term, you have to take this training once. And you, and Tim's already done his, but you and Mike are supposed to do it before June 30th.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so anyway, this is all new.
Thank you for keeping us updated.
I thought, what's this? So anyway, that is it.
Okay.
And I'll let you know as soon as it's posted.
Thank you.
And it's your responsibility as a board member, the district. And there could be a fine involved. They added that in there. So they're pretty serious about it.
Okay, got it.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Right. On to trustee report. Let's start with you, Mr. Anderson. Have any trustee report?
Yeah, they have, for some reason, this last 2 or 3 weeks have been pretty busy. I've been to 2 basketball games, a wrestling match. I spent a couple hours with Mike the other day. We had a great meeting. Been to a Lane ESD meeting. And then that FBLA, was the judge at the middle school. And kudos to Mrs. Anderson and Julie, because those guys ran that so well. And, what was really cool to me was there was like 150 kids in the room after it was all over. And Julie had those kids, she was doing some contests of some kind on a board. She really did a good job of keeping their attention. The kids were whooping and hollering, but they were pretty much under control. And they had a mess up in the computer that couldn't get the results out right away. So Julie went back to the board and had some more stuff and kept the kids sort of under control. They did a really, really good job. I was really impressed with it. They did a great job. Let's see, basketball. Oh, and this weekend, one of our senior ladies in the school is in an ice hockey tournament in Bremerton, and we're gonna go up and watch that for a couple days, 3 days, 2 games a day for 3 days.
You know it's not warmer up there, right?
Yeah, I know it's gonna be hard to get freezing rain. Excuse me. Freezing rain and snow, but it's my granddaughter, so we're going in. Now I've got a 4-wheel drive and chains and everything else I need, so we'll be fine. I was going to Canada, but I'm not very well liked in Canada. My customers, if you want to make a Canadian mad, when you're talking about the duty and stuff, it's not that. It's the fact that they will not ever be the 51st state. And I'm really irritated. I'll say it a nice word, irritated those guys. I got my partner on, he was a Canadian, on the phone, and he, to make a long story short, we agreed to agree, but he doesn't care for Trump. And, and just before we hung up, I said, oh, I've got a phone call coming up. It's my Uncle Trump. I'll talk to you later. I don't want to tell you what he said. I heard the whole time. But anyway, that's about like it.
You were busy.
Sarah.
I went to a bond oversight committee meeting.
Yeah.
Went to a labor management meeting with Mike and I did a one-on-one meeting with Mike. I did the FBLA judging on the 31st, and I have been to more wrestling meets than I can remember since I've seen you.
So time consuming, right? I mean,
They are hostage situations.
yes, I know.
And I've worked, like, I went to Harrisburg, went to Florence, I went to Cottage Grove 2 days in 1 week.
Yeah. It's a lot.
They stay there. There is, oh my gosh.
Bless you for going.
Bless me for going. You are correct.
Bless you for going and supporting our kids.
It's not my favorite, I'm gonna be honest.
It's
It's really high library.
I should go with you.
Well, we're going to Elmira next weekend for regionals.
I haven't been to anything like this, maybe I will. Ladies. I will echo all the wonderful things about FBLA regionals. And the other thing I'll note, if you weren't there, during the day, if the kids weren't competing, Kendra had worked with the community to come in and host workshops. So the kids were still engaged in learning. So we had, I mean, she had 3 or 4 community groups or businesses there presenting about what they do. And so that was above and beyond. Because when I went down and judged where, I can't remember where it was hosted last year, the kids didn't have anything to do that I remember if they weren't judged. This one, the kids are just always doing something. So she and Julie did go above and beyond. So that was great. Bond Oversight Committee, the progress with the bond is going wonderfully. The questions from the community members on that committee are great. They're so impressed with all the different grants and the ways that Mike and the administration are finding to supplement the bond so that we're spreading the dollars so much farther. I see that in every bond oversight committee meeting. The public our public members are really appreciating that. And then I focused on this letter. And I had my one-on-one with
February 4th, I had a one-on-one with Mike, and then February 6th, I did the OSBA public meeting law.
I have made it in person to 2 basketball games, but I've watched most of them at home on the TV. And I did watch one of the duels, one of the wrestling duels all at home on TV. And I do like watching wrestling, so I think it's always fun. We had our leadership meeting and I went to that, and we have started workouts for spring sports. So we've been doing open gyms twice a week for softball, so that's been keeping me busy. And a lot of conversations about softball cages. That's it.
I didn't do a lot. I did leadership this month. That was me. I need to go to some sporting events apparently.
Good job.
Yeah.
Oh, I went to one middle school basketball game too last,
Yeah.
and it was very cute.
Yeah. Yeah, they are fun to watch. All right. So just reminder, the 10th will be here. At 6, because it's not on there. And then our regular board meeting will be on the 12th. Fantastic. Is that everything? All right, we'll adjourn our meeting. And now you want to get